Troy here on this edition of This Week in Review, the show in which we give you the rundowns of the goings on in the entertainment industry. And of course, I'm not alone in talking about the topics that we're going to discuss this week. We have Spills with me. Spillman, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Good
Happy
evening,
Saturday.
ladies and gentlemen. Happy Saturday. I know we're getting to y'all a little bit later than we normally do, but I had to
And I know
sleep
we've been on a
in.
little bit of a hiatus, but a lot has
Yeah,
been going on the past couple of weeks. A lot has
that's
been
right.
going down. I'll try to keep you a buzz of try to catch you guys up as best as I can. If you've been keeping track of social media, you have an idea of all the crazy con convention stuff that's been going on the last few weeks. But do have some stuff to drop for you guys. So, be on the lookout for that, whether it's con stuff or film festival stuff. Um, but be that as it may, there are a couple of things to get into. We'll try to keep it short and sweet, but based on the topics that we're going to go over, we'll see if it ends up being short and sweet because it's quite a bit to dig into. So, without further ado, the first one that I want to topic that I want to talk about today is of course, San Diego Comic Con. We have San Diego Comic Con having its open registration not this weekend, but next Saturday. And for those that are unfamiliar with how Comic Con works in terms of their badge system, they typically have two badge sales. They have what they call pre registration, and that's normally for those badge holders that have have attended Comic Con the year before, and because of the fact that they attended before, they're able to get priority to get their badges first before anybody else. Now, outside of that, you have what I like to call the free for all, which is what's happening next weekend, which is open registration, and that's for everyone else who is, seeking or hoping to get their Comic Con badge. And it's a free. A reason why I say it's a free for all is because it includes everybody. Believe it or not, it includes those who did pre-registration because maybe they didn't get all the days that they wanted within that first sale, and it also includes those folks that have never attended Comic Con before, those new folks. So it's always interesting to see how it turns out. I know Spillman, you haven't really been privy to what that's like, um, but I know it's still a show that you have on your bucket list to still attend. So, what are your thoughts on them having open registration next week? We had pre-registration. Let me see, the first week in November. So it looks like they're perhaps following along with, like, I guess the payment cycle, anticipating maybe that a lot of their attendees are on that payment cycle, that maybe that 17th would be a payday. So who knows? I have some
Yeah.
other theories, but I'll punt it off to you first.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I don't talk about it a lot, but I used to be a kingpin. So the 15th is a very important day if you're getting certain kind of money. So the people at the Comic Con in San Diego was like, hey, it's the 15th. It's the day that let's do it after the 15th. Everybody gonna have their money. Really interested in the Comic Con. I didn't actually do any kingpinning, as you probably all know. I'm very tall. They would have saw me. They would have arrested me and put me in jail very quickly. And I'm not too sure that I wouldn't be someone's girlfriend. That's not what I want to be, but that's probably what would happen to me in prison because I'm not built like that. But I'm very interested in the Comic Con. I think one of these years, the Weekend Review will do a broadcast from there. Hopefully, one day we'll work on it. We'll get Brandon in the costume, as I've been saying for since I've been on this pod.
I tell you what, we will make this deal. If it the year that you come to Comic Con, I will cosplay. How about
That's
that?
right. That's right.
There
That's
you
what we're
go.
gonna do. That's what we're gonna do, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna get my man.
You
He's
you can
gonna be.
hold me to it
Yeah, maybe
because
we
it's
can make him
live right
like.
now. You can hold me to it now.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe we can make him like Daredevil on the Walk of Shame from She-Hulk or something. That'll be great. We could do that. He could be Daredevil, but like no shoes and just walking through the streets. That'd be great. I'd love to see that. But I'm very interested in it. I'd love to see what they do. These kind of release dates for things. It's an interesting concept with the internet. if I told a younger us that this is how things would get sold, we'd be like, that's kind of surprising. I don't believe that people would do it that way. But, I think it's led to more democratization of being able to get these kind of things. But then there's always the bots. Those bots, they're all out there. Just like my sneakers fans. If you be on the sneakers app or the three stripe one for Adidas, if you're not on there at 12 0000001, then you're not getting no shoes. So make sure if you're trying to get those tickets, you're on there at 8 0 0 0 0 0 0 1 or whenever the tickets drop, just to make sure that you get a pair, because you don't want to pay aftermarket prices, because that's another 30 to 75% added on to whatever the ticket value of your tickets are. So I don't know. I'm interested. You heard it first, ladies and gentlemen, that Brandon is going to cosplay once we get it. We might get a GoFundMe together. I think that's what I could do. I get a GoFundMe, and a part of the GoFundMe, maybe we could figure out what Brandon will actually wear. That would help, I think, the fans to put the money up, is if they could pick what you wear. So I don't know. It's just an idea I'm throwing out there. We'll see. You know, it's early November, so people are
Okay.
all,
All right.
yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Fair
We'll
enough.
see.
So there are a couple of parts of this that are interesting, and I'm not going to go too deep into it because we've done a show on Comic Con and what that's like, and the badge process and all that. But I'll briefly go through the Spark Notes version of it, if you will. And in thinking of my first time going to Comic Con, and I've mentioned this before, is it was 2009, and just thinking of Comic Con was already a big show when I went the first year, but it's mind boggling to think about how it was then, even though it was big then. Don't get me wrong, how it has ballooned into such like a kind of a behemoth in terms of the process and what's necessary to be able to attend. Like in 2009, Comic Con, if you guys aren't aware, for those that have never attended, it's always in July. Every single year, it's even though it's in July, they may rotate a week in that month, but it's always in July. And so when I went that first year, I got my badge in June. Under the context that we have as Comic Con right now, that's unheard of. Like that's ridiculous that I'll be able to get a badge a month ahead of time. As the years went on, it got crazier and crazier where, that first, let me see, what was it? The second year, I want to say the website crashed. And that's when
Right.
they had to use a brand new system just to be able to implement the ticketing process. And then they had to make it even more complicated with like putting you in purchase queues and all of that. And now people have to do what they call purchase groups just to be able to have a shot at getting a badge versus you just getting it yourself on your own
Hmm.
accord. It's just insane. So I'll be interested to see what this coming year looks like, especially now, which we'll get into because this affects another story, one of the main stories that we're going to talk about at the end of our show. How that how the resolution with that will play a role likely in how much interest there will be in Comic Con this year, because that was an
Hmm.
issue last year because of the strike of the SAG after strike. There was less interest in the show because obviously, most of the things that you go to Comic Con for, don't get me wrong, it's it's its creation started obviously with comic books, but within the last, I guess you can say, the last couple of decades, as superheroes have become more part of pop culture and have create established a recognition as a property, as an IP outside of comic books. people enjoy seeing their favorite actors, their favorite directors, their favorite writers, that are involved with these various IPs. So because that wasn't really the case of what has been the norm in the last, I guess you could say,
10
10,
years.
15 years or
Yeah.
so. It was a really unprecedented year last year. Now we're going right back to our status quo of we can typically expect out of Comic Con. So it'll definitely be interesting to see how much interest there will be in open registration is this year versus perhaps what we had last year.
Yeah.
But do you have any other thoughts before we hop into our next story?
No, not really anything. Just, Comic Con sounds like a great time. San Diego is the OG. Like, I know the New York one was first, but the San Diego one is like the one that, you know, the big money people, big money man, as they say, big money man. So,
For
it's
sure.
just very good. We hope that the fans, if you want to get a ticket and you have the monetary gain to do so, we wish you luck this weekend, once these tickets go on sale, because we
And I
know
will
no
say
one's going
this
to
before we
pick
hop
them up.
into our next story. We will be doing, I will be doing a live stream as I did last year of the badge sale, just to, because it seemed like it's something that people, seem to have interest in or are fascinated by. So, and there was interest in it before. So I will be doing it again over on my personal channel. So I'll shoot over the information for that, where you guys can hop over for that. But getting into our next story, and this is actually in an indirect way can also be associated with Comic Con too, because it likely will be there. We had the trailer for the new Ghostbusters film known as a Frozen Empire. The teaser that we saw gave us a look at the characters that we saw in the prior installment known as Afterlife.
Hmm.
However, it has us back in New York, and it shows us the entity apparently that has control over, just as we see in the title, has seems to have control of ice and snow. So from what we saw in that teaser, we didn't see a whole bunch, but we saw enough, I feel. What were your thoughts of what we were given a look at, Spills?
I think it's very interesting. I like how the teaser at the first like 15, 20 seconds doesn't really like punch you in the face of what this is about. I think I saw an Easter egg where a lady was drinking like a drink that looked like the old Ecto Cooler, with the green orange juice that used to be all the rage in my elementary school lunchroom. I don't know about yours, Brandon, but I know in mine that was the beverage of choice. It was like Sprite and the lean in Houston, Texas or something. It was very cool. So I really enjoyed that. Um, it's a very interesting topic. I think that Paul Rudd is good with them. Of course, they had the Bill Murray cameo, but Bill is looking old, man. I love Bill Murray, my favorite actor of all time. Hope he's in good health, because we already lost Harold Ramis, who is Egon, as most of you know. Very sad he passed on, but you know, say la vie,
And I was
such
gonna
is
say,
life.
shout out to a friend of the show, Ernie Hudson, who
That's right.
we had on the show in his last film, known as Champions. Cool dude. It's good to see him back, and he actually announced. It's funny, and I posted it. He announced that they were shooting this installment, and we were actually the first place where he announced it when he was talking about officially announcing that they were going to start shooting the film. And this was back in, I want to say, later this last was it last, I want to say it was last fall. I got to look at it again, but
Hmm.
no, he shout out to him of always telling things as it is. He doesn't sugarcoat stuff, which I appreciate. He's very open in terms of talking about how he got involved with Ghostbusters. It wasn't the most ideal a situation and how he got involved and what his experience was in doing those first couple of films. Um, which is a testament to him as an actor, as a professional, as a performer, of what he had to go through for those first couple of installments. But you know at the end of the day, he's the OG Ghostbusters. So um, I'm definitely interested in seeing, what they have in store for this installment, because I'll be honest, when I saw the last installment, I wasn't crazy excited about Ghostbusters, but by the end of that film, I was intrigued about the possibility of getting more Ghostbusters. So that was a testament to that last installment, that even though going in I wasn't that, thrilled about checking out another Ghostbusters film. And don't get me wrong, as a kid, I love Ghostbusters, but it had been such a long time since we had an installment that by the end of it, because of how well they were not only able to respect the prior lore and history of Ghostbusters, but also introduce new elements. The way that they were able to seamlessly do that in the prior installment gives me hope for what they have in continuing the story with not just their OG characters, but with the newer characters that they have um, going forward into this film that are returning. So, any thoughts before we get to our last story?
No, huge Ghostbusters fan. I think most people our age are huge Ghostbusters fans because the Ghostbusters did run the gamut. Little girls liked them, little boys liked them, everybody liked the Ghostbusters. Um,
And that theme song, man, like,
oh, Ray Parker
come on,
Jr.
man, the theme song.
He's the guy. Yeah. So
So.
I'm interested in it. I'll refresh it with the other one. So, well, I'm very interested in that. So we'll see where it goes. Um, I'll let you intro our next topic.
Cool. So I teased it in the beginning in talking about Comic Con, because this story drastically affects pretty much every story that we have, and that's none other than the SAG after strike coming to an end. So this past week, there was an agreement that was reached between the studios and SAG aftra, and there were quite a list of things that I want to be able to bullet point, just going down the list. And this is a story out of Deadline of going over just a general summary of some of the things that the agreement is going to do for actors going forward in working with studios. So, and as I said, in the story out of Deadline, apparently there's going to be an 80-page summary of the full agreement that's going to go to members of the guild, and this is going to happen on November 13th. So members of SAG-AFTRA, and then there's going to be ratification voting that will run from November 14th until the first week of December. Now,
Hmm.
going down the list of some of like the parts of this agreement, I'm not going to try. I'm going to try to get through a lot, some as much of it as I can, because there's a lot here. But still, with some of the things that I go over, a lot of fascinating stuff to get into. So the agreement includes a wage pattern with two wage increases in the first year of the contract, so 7% upon ratification of this agreement, and another 4% increase effective on July 2024. Making a compound first year increase of 11.28%. So again, 7% upon ratification and 4% for July. That's going to go into effect for July 2024. There's going to be another 3.5% increase that will occur a year later on July 2025. Wages for background actors. So if you're not, those that are not familiar with what's meant when we say background actors, those folks that, another word would be extras. So those actors that, don't have any lines, but they're still there in the scene. They're acting as, just as the name suggests, being in the background. They will get an increase of 11% effective on November 12th, 2023, so tomorrow,
Tomorrow.
and then an additional 4% on July 1st, 2024, and another 3.5% on July 1st, 2025. There's also going to be a 43% increase to the contribution cap for 1 hour productions and 67% increase to the cap for half an hour productions that will result in contributions to the health and pension retirement funds, as well as performers working on those shows to continue qualifying for benefit cover. So huge when it comes to talking about, actors being covered with their benefits, because that has been something that has been, an issue. The union also achieved the creation of a new compensation stream for performers working in streaming, providing a substantial bonus uh, on top of existing structures, making work and streaming more substantial for middle class actors. So we're talking about those middle class actors that may be actors that you recognize, but not necessarily those that are like what we call the one percenters that are making, multi-million dollars. So, we have actors there that we do recognize, but believe it or not, they are working actors that, they're still working paycheck to paycheck. That you may recognize them from a television show, but they aren't millionaires. They are, making a living paycheck to paycheck based on what they earn. So, continuing on, the majority of that compensation will be provided to actors on programs meeting certain viewership requirements. The remaining money will be distributed to other actors working on these streaming programs through a new jointly trusted distribution fund. And this ensures improved compensation and sustainability for a wider range of actors, contributing to the success of those programs. The agreement also adds fixed residuals for stunt coordinators working on TV and new media productions. Now, some other things, and I'm not going to go over every single thing because I wanted to be able to touch on some of these main ones. Again, like this is some that you can find in Deadline and talking about all these, specifics. They also go into the projections that were or protections, excuse me, that were also made in place for casting process, which I found very fascinating. In this, casting process, I'm picturing that this would be the process that you would have if you're auditioning as an actor. This includes provisions specifying that breakdowns, sides, and or scripts shall be provided no less than 48 hours prior to the submission deadline. So this is prior to the deadline that you have to be able to submit your work in auditioning for a given project. They have to at least give you 2 days to be able to do that. 72 hours if you are a minor, so as a child actor. And talent additionally uh, may not be asked to perform more than uh, eight industry standard pages for a first self tape, and of 12 industry standard pages for a second or subsequent callback. So you're not going to be asked to do more than 8 pages in a given script when you're auditioning for a role, and then it's 12 pages if you're doing a callback. So for those that are not familiar, callback a lot of times, if they enjoyed what you did in the first interview, it's kind of like going through the second round if you're doing that callback when they're asking you back. It's still an audition, but it just means that you're that much closer to getting the part. And then additionally, this is also interesting part, and then I'll wrap it up. Is if memorization is required, performers will be entitled to getting compensation. Like that's awesome. So just that idea that you can get compensation for being required to, memorize the lines. And I don't know, I'm sure there will be a lot of people saying like, why would that be the case? But if you're picturing that, just like I mentioned before, where you have actors working paycheck to paycheck, if they're being asked to also provide, that memorization piece, if they're getting closer and closer to that process of securing a part, and you're as in essence asking them to perform to do the very duty that is allowing them to make a living, then they should be able to get compensated for that, because that time that they're spending, going to a second callback, going to a third callback, that's time that's spent on your project that they're not spending on another project that they can potentially be doing. So, as I said, there are way more things that I could get into on here, but I just wanted to touch on at least a couple of them. Spillman, what are your thoughts on us finally getting a resolution to the SAG after strike and some of these details of this agreement that I touched on.
Well, I think that firstly, congratulations to the union. You guys work
Yes, indeed.
together. Um, yeah, so
You're
I
all
can
good. You're all
see
good.
I can see that the union is powerful. Union work has been very successful recently. Um, I think that the Screen Actors Guild has done very great things for their membership, and I think it's a good example for all peoples that work because we got to work together to get the things that we need, not to get too deep in the weeds about striking and all that because we do know we try to make some money on this podcast and they don't like strikes, so we're not going to talk too much about it. But we're also happy that the shows are coming back. This way, the people that are members of that union can go get back to work because that's what they really deserve. They really deserve to get back to work and do what they need to do. So, just excited to see what new projects are done because not having the writers and not having these actors has resulted in some very subpar shows that no one wants to watch because they're not able to do it with all of the gusto that they want to.
For sure, for sure. And just as you said, and you said it best, congratulations to, the actors of being able to secure the an agreement for the strike. I mean, it's awesome to hear, some of these components of the agreement that were able to be reached with the studios. And you know at the end of the day, you will it's great to see that actors are um were able to hold their ground and to be able to secure this agreement with the studios, considering not just with our writers. Congratulations to the writers as well, that they were able to come to a resolution. Also, is that just as you said, Spillman, aside from our writers, aside from um our let's see, our costume designers, our cinematographers, doing any given project, whether it's television or film, is a collaborative process, and
For sure.
actors are a part of that process too. And I feel like oftentimes, at least in the beginning, there was kind of uh this opinion of, oh well, why are these, why are there actors that are making these millions of dollars, complaining about not getting paid. And again, at the end of the day, and we've explained it at the top, and we've explained it on other shows at nauseum too, is uh the actors that we're talking about that are making those crazy amounts of money are like 0.99. There's such a small and minuscule amount of the total population of actors. There are far more actors that are in that middle ground, which I talked about in talking about some of the components of this agreement, that yeah, they're recognizable, but again, like anyone else that's a blue collar worker, they're working paycheck to paycheck. And I'm gonna hop in about this too. You gotta forgive my boy Spillman, because he's been up all day
All
doing
day.
all the
I'm sorry,
parenting stuff.
guys.
Even
Oh,
right now, he's doing parenting stuff while he's
oh,
doing the podcast. So I appreciate him. He's trying to power through. I'm trying,
oh.
and I get it. I know you
Powering,
tired, man.
powering. I'm
So we,
sorry. Sorry
but
about
but
that.
nah, like
I'm bringing that
going
here.
going back to that is just that idea that, like I said, doing a film, doing TV, doing any new media, streaming, whatever it is, it's a collaborative process, and
Mm-hmm.
studios need to be able to understand that it is not something that they are making by themselves, and they have to
Yes.
properly compensate all the
Yes.
artists that play a role in making this content. So
Recoup the people that are helping you to make the content. Exactly. I think that that's a big point that has been, not just with the Screen Actors Guild, not just with the Acting Guild, the Writers Guild. Look at the auto workers. Look at the people that work at UPS. They've all renegotiated. They've all come back with a lot of money for themselves, and we're all happy for them because we as a community need to recognize that we are all providing services and are all providing goodwill and things like that. So to me, these battles are necessary because these companies are making ridiculous money on these properties. They're making ridiculous money. So if they share a little bit more, it's not going to hurt anybody. It'll just help the process. Um, it'll make it so that there are more people, more ideas, and being able to sustain themselves a little bit better. I just think that it's one of the better things that have happened, I guess, for actors. I just hope that I worry about the shows that were on hiatus because of it. Because I remember that Heroes show, the show Heroes was great, and then that writers strike happened in like 2008, 2009, and the
and
show
we
was never
actually
good
almost
again.
had another, believe it or not, we almost had another Justice League movie uh um prior to that strike too. I'll challenge anyone to go down the rabbit hole of the Justice League movie that we almost got, that included, a number of, at that time, a number of like well-known actors. I mean, probably these days, they Hollywood is a constantly changing thing, and revolving door in terms of who is considered quote unquote, A-list, or who's, the hot actor or actresses. But at least at that time, you couldn't find a more impressive list of ensemble of actors and actresses. So, but we're going to wrap it up there. Again, I want to thank my partner in crime, co-host Spills,
I
powering through today,
apologize.
man.
I'm
I know it's been a
powering
long
through. It's
day.
been a
Like I said,
long
he's been doing
day.
the parenting thing all day, y'all, outside of doing this show, and he's
Yeah,
still
man.
doing it simultaneously while he's doing his podcast. So I'm gonna punt it over to you. Can you tell folks where they can find you?
I just want to first say that the Lakers did win their
Oh my
first
gosh.
game in the in-season tournament, the inaugural in-season tournament. You see this. We are now above 500. I don't know where your Warriors are, but I'm not sure if
Oh,
they're
good for
above
you. Good
500.
for y'all. I'm
Um,
hoping y'all are able to stay 500. With soft as paper AD.
hey, he won a championship for us. I won't let you besmirk his good name. My friend was trying to talk bad about him, say we should have traded for him. We've
Give it
been to a
time.
conference. We beat y'all last year with him,
Give it
and he
time.
was looking like the Incredible Hulk till he saw the best player in the world, who was Joker. But he's not Joker.
Hey, all the props to Joker.
All the
All the
props to
props to
Joker.
Joker. But
But
I
we
will
we
say
won that
this:
play-in. So
Steph is having an MVP year so far.
that's great.
He's
But
having an incredible year.
17 championships, ladies and gentlemen. 17 championships. You can check me out on Truly Spill on Instagram. You can see some of my parenting adventures, as Brandon said. So look me up. Don't request me and then not let me follow you back, because I will block you. I just letting you know. If you request me and I accept your request and then you don't accept mine, you're getting blocked. So please don't make me block you. You can see the great content. Sometimes I have hee hee ha ha jokes that are very appropriate for the workplace. So Yeah, you can check me out there, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, guys. So as always, you can find me at Brandon Troy ENT on X. Still is blowing my mind. Uh, and you can find me on Brandon Troy _ ENT on Instagram. That being said, thank you guys so much for watching tonight. Uh, be safe out there
Five
and
stars.
see
Share
you
with your
soon.
friends. Tell your friends all about us, ladies and gentlemen. Five
Peace.
stars. 5 stars. Upvote us.